The fluid shifts, though, affect our brain and our eyes and all the rest of our body as well. So it's actually kind of a great thing that we can study this. In a lot of ways, being up here in zero-G is a lot like aging. Our bones and our muscles atrophy. So they do studies on human beings, us, while we're up here. We exercise hard, we're able to recover the bone, and they've learned a lot about how the body can recover from weightlessness or a relaxed position. So that's helped a lot of ICU patients, people as they get older. It's a lot of very interesting studies that come from that. But yeah, it affects every cell in our bodies.
My name is Trevion Alanis, and my question is, how do you maintain the orbit in space?
Well, Trevion, we basically are falling towards the Earth because the Earth is pulling us towards it just like it's pulling you towards it. The reason we stay in orbit is we keep missing the Earth. So we're going so fast horizontally that we just keep missing the horizon. So fortunately, that's been going on. We go around the Earth once every 90 minutes and about 5 miles a second to be able to stay up here.
Hi, my name is Lisbeth Roman, and my question for you is, you have had the chance to do the spacewalk.
Hey, Elizabeth, I have not done a spacewalk. Both Tom and Mark have, and then I will have hopefully a chance to do that in March. So earlier in our mission, Tom and Kayla went out and fixed what's called an S-band antenna. So we have several antennas outside the station that we use for command and controlling the station. When Kayla and I go out in early March, we'll be upgrading or setting up to upgrade the solar panels. And then Matthias and I will get a chance to do potentially another spacewalk in late March, where we'll fix some cooling modules and route some high-definition cameras, as well as a bunch of other tasks to reconnect some connectors on the outside of the space station.
Hello, my name is Evelyn Barone, and my question is, how do you feel like when you look at Earth from space?
Well, the first time I looked at the Earth from space, I didn't know what I was looking at. I saw a lot of brilliant white and brilliant blue, and it was beautiful. So it's somewhat bewilderment. It certainly doesn't look like you might think if you open up an atlas and look at maps of the Earth. But it's very beautiful. Over time, especially on these long-duration flights, we're able to start to see different continents, different coastlines, and begin to understand what the Earth really looks like. And for me, I fell in love with the Earth again. You begin to get emotionally very attached to it. It is where humans come from. It is our home. And so it just gets more and more beautiful all the time.
My name is Haley Radia, and my question is, what do you eat there?
Wow, what a great question. Tom actually did a good job of pulling out some of the food that we have up here so I can show you. Here's kale, I think. Yep. That's one of our rehydratable food items. So we've got a potable water dispenser that injects the amount of water we select into that. Then another version, which Roger's going to show you, is meatloaf. The meatloaf is what we call thermal stabilized. If you've ever served in the military, if you do, you'll get very familiar with those because our military rations are quite often come in packages like that. And then we've also got common off-the-shelf items. I seem to have lost something. Where could they be? Ah, there we go. You might recognize these candy-coated chocolates. So just showing you those as examples of a very, very wide variety of food products we have on board.
My name is Edwin Hernandez, and my question is, can you clearly see the northern lights from space?
Actually, Edwin, you can see the northern lights, but you can also see them the south side as well. So the Earth has a magnetic field around it that pulls in particles from the sun constantly. So if you are on the Earth, you sometimes see those when you live really far north, at least in North America's case. But we see them on both sides, coming into the north and the south poles. So when we're in a night pass, which we do 16 times a day, if you look towards the north or look towards the south, you see this green glow, and it's kind of a fuzz, and there's lines coming in. It's pretty spectacular, and usually what we'll do is call other people to the cupola if we see it. If one person spots it, usually pretty soon you see a bunch of legs all sticking in the cupola at the same time as we're all trying to get a view of that beautiful phenomena.
My name is Mardio. What type of plants can we grow inside the space station?
We've been growing plants on the space station for a bunch of years now, actually. So we've grown radishes and onions and lettuce, and recently some chili peppers, sunflowers, zinnias, all kinds of things. It's really nice to have a little garden up here, but it's important for the science too. Being in zero gravity, kind of, there's plants express genes that they've never expressed before, and we learn a lot about how they grow and how the root systems grow, and potentially learn something about how plants deal with harsh environments. So that could make plant growth and crops more productive on Earth in harsher environments than we're used to. But it is also nice to be able to eat as well. We were occasionally able to taste them, and this is going to be essential if we're going to be flying long duration missions and spending years and years out in space. We're going to have to be able to grow plants.
My name is Kenya Stewart, and my question is there a possibility of hydroponics inside a space station?
Yes, absolutely. We've got some experiments going on now, or just recently finished, that actually use hydroponics to help grow things. And so it's got a great potential for the future and further our space exploration.
Hi, my name is Efrata Avane, and my question for today was, what research projects are you guys conducting within the biological and physical fields at the International Space Station?
So in the biological side, they kind of just talked about it a little bit, but we're doing a whole bunch of plant research right now. So there's actually 3 active plant experiments going on all simultaneously. One's looking at cotton genes and basically different strains of cotton to make it more drought resistant. And it's kind of like stem cell research except for cotton. Another one is looking at different ways to water plants. So your previous question, we're looking at different ways to passively get water to the plants so it doesn't take as much time and resources here on the station to do that, which will be important for exploration. And then another one is looking at we have what's called a multivariable G platform, and we're using that to look at Tom mentioned how the genes, our genes change, but also plant genes change, and we're looking at how that changes in different environments. And so we're doing all 3 of those. On the physical side, we're doing some experiments right now with concrete hardening. And so one of the things that's really cool in space is when the concrete hardens, it does it uniformly. There's no settling like there is on Earth. And that's important so we can build better concrete. It gives off a lot of carbon emissions when concrete hardens. And so if we can figure out a better way to do that, that'll cut down on carbon emissions and make our structures more strong. And, oh, by the way, we're going to need to build things when we get to the moon if we're going to live there. And so we have to figure out how to make concrete and hard building-like materials in space.
My name is Faith Adelaide. We know there are a lot of countries in the command structure. So how does the command structure work in the International Space Station?
Hi, Faith. It's living up here is an image of some of the best international collaboration in human history. Every country that contributes to the space station, every spacefaring country has a group, a space program, and they all attend or have representatives at all boards, and all meetings, all flight readiness reviews. We have 2 main control centers, Mission Control Center in Houston and one in Moscow, but every partner also has their own control center, so when their module or their equipment is being operated, they can be there and monitor the day-to-day ops like all the control centers do. And then finally, each partner has a group of astronauts, and astronauts that are selected by an international group, very often also astronauts, who then put them in rockets, bring them up here to the space station. They choose who's going to be the commander, who rotates through all the partners that have been up here on the space station. So it's actually a wonderful collaboration, one that's not based on defense or based on competition, but purely to explore.
My name is Daniel Perry, and I was wondering, how do you protect the space station from pollution?
Daniel, that's a great question, one we really have to pay attention to. So there's strategic resources in the United States that help us by tracking space debris, and they communicate with the the Mission Control Center in Houston, and so we'll get advanced notifications when something's going to come in what we refer to as the pizza box of space around the space station. If something is anticipated colliding or passing through that area, we have various levels of alert that we will pay attention to. Sometimes we will go ahead and change the orbit of the space station slightly to make sure that we get to the safest orbit possible.
Ms. Leah Hubbard, my question is, how do you get to space?
Well, so we get here on rockets, and there's a few different kinds out there. So one of the really cool things that's happened in the last few years is we're able to launch rockets from U.S. soil again with our U.S. and partner astronauts. Mark came up here on a Soyuz rocket, or Soyuz vehicle, launched on a rocket from Russia. Tom and I came up on a Falcon 9 rocket, which was carrying a Dragon capsule. And then soon we'll also have a Boeing Starliner capsule coming up on a ULA rocket. So 3 different ways to get here currently. And then the other thing is once you get to space, you have to dock with the space station. And so that's the other key part of getting to the space station is the docking, and we call rendezvous and docking. And so that's how we get up here, and then we take that same ride back to Earth. Mark, after having been here for about a year, will head back this spring, and then Tom and I will head back in our Dragon about a month or so after that.
My name is Ismandra Briones, and my question is, how do you preserve food in space?
That's a great question because it's a really hard problem to solve. The people that provide us with food have to plan years in advance to get the food on a rocket that might be anywhere from the equator to Japan to Russia or Kazakhstan, or launching out of the United States, and it has to sit up here for a while, so because we never want to run out of food, so we have a lot of reserve. And they do it by either cooking it like you would eat out of a can to kill the bacteria, or dehydrating it. And you saw some of the dehydrated food. We just add water. It's all very tasty, very good, and they've been able to keep us healthy. They've actually learned a lot supplying astronauts with food with less salt. So the food has less salt than you might buy in the grocery store, and that's helped preserve our bones. It's a little bit better for our cardiovascular health. And the food's very tasty. They've made great breakthroughs, in my opinion, in the variety of food and how it tastes.
And my question is, how do a star look from space?
Stars from the space station look very much like you'd see on the Earth in a desert on a clear night. The good news is up here, we never have any weather because we're largely outside of the atmosphere. We see actually a little bit less of the sky than you would see because our primary windows are all downward. But it's a beautiful view when you turn off all the lights inside the space station and you can look out the window, and it is glorious. I wish I could get everybody to see it because it is just an amazing thing to see.
My name is Elena Betanco, and my question is, have you ever seen a black hole with your bare eyes?
Daniela, I have not seen a black hole. If I had, I probably wouldn't be here. So if I would see a black hole, it'd be way, way too close. But we're still studying them, still learning a lot about them. There's lots of theoretical conceptions about what a black hole would even look like. Obviously, with the absence of light, it's hard to even, I think, imagine what that would look like. But we're really coming with the new launch of the Webb telescope, which will be coming online shortly. The existing images and studies of the Hubble telescope. NASA not only does human space flight, but we've got all kinds of orbiting laboratories and instruments and experiments running not only just for our planet and other planets in the solar system, but throughout the universe. So hopefully one day we will actually put eyes on one of those and understand it. And, your generation is going to help us figure that out.
Hi, my name is Roman Mendez, and my question is, how many G's does it take when exiting the atmosphere?
So that's a great question. It depends on how fast you want to go. And in general, in rockets, we want to go fast because we want to be able to use the fuel as efficiently as we can and get out of the atmosphere. So I've been on a Soyuz, there's one launching there. I've been on a Dragon, and I've been on the space shuttle. And in each case, we get about 4 Gs through our chest. We're always lying on our backs on these when we launch on these rockets. And you get about 4 Gs that's sustained for several minutes. And you build up to that point. So in about from 8 to 9 minutes, you'll be able to get up out of the atmosphere and be able to pick up your horizontal velocity like Mark was talking about to get to over 17,000 miles per hour, which is about 5 times faster than a bullet from a rifle. So you have to get up out of the atmosphere, get up your altitude into space, and then go very, very fast so you can stay in orbit.
My name is Travion Alanis, and my question is, what is a frame of reference you use in a space station?
Trevion, you can see as we're standing here, we're all oriented the same direction. We could opt to go in different directions, and we're going to go ahead and demonstrate that right now. But we actually just pick. So towards my feet is what we call the deck. Towards Raja's feet is what we call overhead. We've got a port side and a starboard side, forward and aft, and even the laptops on that we see around here, the keyboards tend to be in one direction so that the base of the computer is towards the deck. But it's just a decision we made. Because we're in an environment that's in a free fall, every surface is really potentially treated equally. But because we're humans, it's easier for us to deal with a situation that we're comfortable with. Even the lighting, as you see, the lighting is closer to the overhead. That's a much more natural lighting feeling for us as we're used to on the ground.
Hi, my name is Faith Adelaide, and my question today is, do you have to create gravity in the International Space Station?
That's a good question for as we look at long-term exploration. So if we had artificial gravity, we wouldn't be able to do the really cool and fun things we enjoy doing, like doing flips and floating around. So we do create an artificial atmosphere inside the station. We do that by creating oxygen and also bringing in nitrogen and then recycling the carbon dioxide and scrubbing that out of what we exhale. So we do have to have an artificial environment, but it doesn't include artificial gravity. There's lots of concepts for how you would create artificial gravity on advanced spacecraft. Right now, as we look at lunar exploration, the Gateway concept and the Orion capsule, those don't include artificial gravity, but maybe as we look into Mars exploration and beyond, that could be something we incorporate. But it definitely is a higher level of technical complexity and machinery that's required to do that. There's also some experiments we've done in Skylab earlier and some concepts of spinning a person where you don't have artificial gravity for the entire space station, but you could have maybe a person feel the same sensation of having some gravity in their body and counter some of those things that Tom was talking about, some of the effects that happen to your body if it felt or was tricked into thinking it was on Earth or had some gravity field around it.
Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you have truly enjoyed this experience. We want to offer and extend our thanks to Expedition 66, all of our speakers, and even the full NASA Space Center department. We truly appreciate it. This is something that's going to stick with our students for the rest of their lives, and it's a valuable memory for them as they continue to grow and take on the rest of the elements of their journey in the world. We want to thank you from all of our students that participated at Worthing Early College High School, the Houston Independent School District, and just the city of Houston. You guys have a wonderful day and continue to be inspired.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you to all participants. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.